Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to this DevOps.com workshop, brought to you by Techstrong, AWS, and PagerDuty. My name is Cody J. Brown. I'm the host of Techstrong Learning, and we have an exciting workshop ahead. First, I have just a couple of housekeeping notes to cover. Today's workshop is being recorded, so if you miss any of our discussion, maybe you'd like to rewatch or maybe re-follow along later, the on-demand version will be emailed to you shortly after we conclude our live session today. If you have any questions, and I'm sure that you will because this is an interactive workshop and we'd really like you to follow along, really any questions or comments, direct to the chat tab, as we've got a whole panel of support here to help out with anything that you may run into with today's program. So anything you need, go to that chat tab. There are some resources for you in the handout section, the first of which being the self-paced workshop link. So if you plan on following along with today's workshop, that's going to be vital for you. And of course, before we close out, we are giving away 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, so be sure to stick around for the duration of the workshop. So today we are AWS modernizing our stack and automating with PagerDuty. And I'm joined by Bobby Zimmerman, Solutions Consultant at PagerDuty, and Mark Kriaf, Partner Solutions Architect at AWS. So Mark and Bobby, thank you both so much for joining me. Mark, do you want to get us kicked off?
Yes, of course. So thank you for having us here, Cody, and we're really excited about this workshop. So as Cody already said, my name is Mark Kriaf. I'm a Partner Solutions Architect at AWS, and I'm extremely happy to have my dear PagerDuty colleague, Bobby Zimmerman, today with me. Really excited about this opportunity to walk through how PagerDuty and AWS are working together to help customers modernize and automate their applications. With that being said, I'll hand it over to Bobby to walk us through the workshop.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the kind introduction. And hi, good afternoon, everybody. First thing, I just want to throw out a quick little apology. I know I spammed some of your inboxes today with trying to get you the PagerDuty process automation username and password. The mail merge tool that I was using, for whatever reason, did not like that I was trying to send a password in there. So I am so sorry if I spammed your inbox with 2 or 3 different emails, but I hope by now the third one is a lucky charm. I hope that everybody got their username and their password for the AWS staging of environment that we have for the runbook automation piece of, from the PagerDuty side. So if you did not get your username and password, the username is easy. It's just your email address that you registered with into this webinar or this workshop, and then the password is definitely something specific to your account. So if you just kind of maybe chat that you need your password, we can take care of that on the back end. So definitely. Perfect. So let me share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? It should show the AWS PagerDuty workshop.
Yeah, I think we can.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Mark, for that. So yeah, like Mark kind of mentioned, this is a joint a webinar with AWS and PagerDuty. Again, just to introduce myself, my name is Bobby Zimmerman. I'm a solutions consultant here at PagerDuty, and on the webinar with me, I do have a whole army that's supporting me. I'm just, the talking head for this right today, but the real brains of the operation will be, in the chat. So please don't hesitate to, send up, questions or whatever in the chat. And kind of like what Mark said, the more interactive we can make this, the better. I'm going to do the whole webinar, the whole workshop with you. So I'm going to be doing the same pain. So hopefully we don't have any pains, but if we do, let's work through them together, and we'll get this definitely going. So with this AWS PagerDuty workshop, I would just like to welcome everybody. And if you don't know what PagerDuty is, I would just like to, I don't like to read. I don't never judge anybody, but PagerDuty wants to be your new digital operations platform, right? So we can ingest, from all different types of, monitoring tools, cloud, AWS CloudWatch, any of the AWS monitoring tools, we can ingest those into PagerDuty, but we also work with other vendors, right? Like Datadog, New Relic, SolarWinds, some of the big players, App Dynamics, things like that. And with that, we can easily create an alert or an incident inside PagerDuty, and that incident can turn into bi-directional communication to all your ITSM tools, your chat ops tools. What it basically does is allow PagerDuty to become that central hub for your incident and AI ops processes. So the next screen, we'll actually get to work like right out of the gate here. We're gonna get busy. So I'm gonna go next here. Right. So some of the learning objectives, very high level, right? We're going to configure PagerDuty to receive a CloudWatch alarm notification as an alert, and then with that alert, we're going to turn it into an incident on the PagerDuty side. Then what we're going to do is we're going to leverage an EventBridge action from PagerDuty. We're going to send an action from PagerDuty into the EventBridge to restart our service, one of our microservices that we're actually going to build today. So it's going to be kind of fun. We're actually going to build something that we're actually going to break and then build it back up so it's working again. So we'll go to the next slide here. It is a self-paced, in this webinar, this workshop is definitely being recorded. So you can always come back to it, do it. Since it's in your AWS account, all the information will be there. So you could do this whenever. And from the PagerDuty side, when we create your developer account, we don't ever purge those from the PagerDuty side. Like if it goes inactive after, I think it's like 60 days, you start to get like a warning to either log in or delete the account. But after 14 days with the process automation piece, if you haven't logged into the AWS, the process automation server that we've provisioned for this webinar, basically what we're going to do is probably start deleting some of those accounts out just for, keeping things nice and tight. So first things first, right? So you want to log into your own personal AWS account. We did not provision any AWS accounts for you. So basically that's what I did, right? I created my own personal account. I have my account right here. So that's what we'll do first. We'll go in, and then we suggest, you don't have to do this, obviously. We suggest that you create a user with the, a username of workshop, give it a password, or give it access to the management console, give it a custom password. You can uncheck this or leave this checked, right, if you want the user to reset their password, but I think the user is you, so I think we're probably okay, right? The next piece that's very, very important in this is when we get to the administrator, the policy, right? We want to use a predefined policy already, and we want to use the administrator access policy. And then basically that will be this first step. So then I'll scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then you'll just create the user. So then what we'll do is we'll go into the event management here, and I'm just going to go into the IAM role here, and I'll just walk through basically what we just explained. And I'm going to do the same thing. So if you guys start to have issues, you just let us know so we can. So workshop.
And in the meantime, while you're creating the user, I just want to reiterate to the crowd here that this is a sample. This is an example workshop. You should not run it on your production accounts. Just beware. Sometimes you use the same browser and you're opened on your production account. So just be aware of that, and make sure you're not on any important account.
Yeah, good call out, Mark. That's a great idea. That would be, horrible. So what I'll do is next we'll go to permissions, right? This is the important piece, right? We want to attach an existing policy directly to our user, and that policy we want to add in is the administrator access policy. And the reason why is because when we go to start building out the VPCs and some of the EC2 instance and load balancers, we need this administrator access. We'll go next, we'll go to tags. I'm not going to add any tags to it. And then at the very bottom down here, we'll just do create user. And there we go. And now you can log in to the user. So first step completed. Yahoo, that's us, right? Like, within 10 minutes, we're off and running. So now we'll go to the next step. So I'm going to just hit the little next here. So this piece will take a few minutes, right? It is a little bit slow and when we're going to create these VPCs. So basically what's nice is through from Mark and from the PagerDuty team, we actually created a cloud formation template for you to use automatically. So what we'll do is we'll just use this, but this kind of just tells you, what we're building and what's going to be required. So once we get in there, there'll be next, and then at the very bottom of the right before you do the create stack, there is an acknowledgement that there's some charges that may be implied, right? So just accept that for the workshop today, and then you can always come back in, later this afternoon or later this week and delete this stack out of your your personal environment. So I'm just going to click on this. Hopefully everybody's here following along. And we'll go here. So it's going to start building for me. So we'll use the template that's already here, right? All the information is basically pre-populated for us, which is great. So then I'll just do next.
Hey, Bobby,
Go ahead.
Can we sorry to stop you. Can we just
No.
enlarge the text a bit?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Is that better? That's like 175.
Yeah,
so
looks
perfect.
better also on my smaller screen. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for that too. So I'll go back so everybody can kind of see this, right? We're going to use a template. The template is already here. By using the CloudFormation, it already pre-populated this information for us, where we're pulling it from, the GitHub, right? And then we're just going to go next because we're going to take the default. So we'll go next. We'll give it a name. Since I already have created mine one time in here, I think this is probably gonna fail for me, but whoops, the wrong dash. Everybody's picky, right? So then what we'll do is we'll give it the name, or you can leave it. I would suggest that you actually leave it and don't add the -3 to the naming convention. I just did that because I've already created this workshop one time in my environment. By default, you can select or you can just use all the default options. So then I would just do next. We don't need any tags, so we could just do next. Oh, actually, we actually get a create. So we're going to do accept these two things down at the bottom, right? Because basically what you're telling AWS is that you're giving CloudFormation the identity and access management resources to create a custom name and also to add in, extra capabilities to the platform. So I'm going to do create stack. We might see a failure on my side because I've already kind of created this one time. So, and we do know this is going to probably take a few minutes to create. Actually, it's probably more than a few minutes. Mine took earlier today. It took a good 10 minutes. So why this is creating, right? And we're not just sitting here, all like, doing nothing. What I would suggest that we do is that we go into we're going to skip down to this getting started in the workshop. And what I'm going to have you guys do, why that's still running, the CloudFormation is still running. Oh yeah, see, it deleted because it already stopped on mine because I had already created it, so that completely makes sense. So I'm just going to actually delete that. But what it should look like when you guys start to develop yours, right? It'll look something like this. You'll get the create complete, and then over here on the left, you'll see create complete. And it's actually this one right here. Perfect. So then once everybody kind of gets that, give a shout out in the chat, or, to let me know that, everybody's kind of, I wouldn't think that your VPC has been created yet. So what I would do next is I would suggest that we might as well go to this getting started and create your PagerDuty developer account. So here's the URL. I don't know if I can throw this in the chat. I should have had. Actually, it's not a question, but I'll just throw this in there. See if that'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Send. So then you can just copy that URL right out of there, right? And then with the developer account on the PagerDuty side, right? So it's you get full access to all of the PagerDuty platform, but you're very limited, right? So you don't get SMS, you don't get like phone calls, you may get emails, and then you're limited to like 3 users. So I'm going to go ahead and create my own account too. So hopefully everybody's following along here. I'm going to do the old Gmail trick here. Just do PD, and then what's kind of cool, just because you get to create your own subdomain as part of creating your PagerDuty account. So I don't know, something kind of creative. I'm not very creative. AWS. Let's do AWS PD Workshop. Perfect. Click and then do submit. Oh, it already created it. So then once you do create it, you create your subdomain. The subdomain will show up in the very top part up in your URL. So you may want to just keep this tab open or keep it available, or copy and paste it off to the side. But once you get into this PagerDuty piece here, you'll have to click on this where it says PagerDuty over here in the left-hand corner, and that will actually take you into the normal PagerDuty incident screen. So if you're new to PagerDuty, this is exciting, right? This is what PagerDuty looks like. This is the incident screen inside PagerDuty. But if you've already been into PagerDuty in the past, then you already know what this looks like, and it's probably like a love-hate relationship. So totally get it. Perfect. So now we definitely created our PagerDuty account there, but now I do want to go back up and see how creating the VPC is coming for everybody. Anybody having any issues? Mark, have you seen a lot of questions or issues or anything?
Yeah, we're working through some issues with the password that people were having, but other than that, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, let me know when you think we're ready to move on to the next piece of the creating the sample application, because I could go back in and work on the PagerDuty side.
So I just want to emphasize here. So this what we're doing here in the workshop is part of the journey to get to process automation. So the initial step is just setting the infrastructure, setting the background, and running some alarms, and then we'll learn how to leverage the incident that was created in order to how to leverage process automation in order to fix our issues and fix our incidents. So just to clarify, as someone asked in the chat.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we have to do some of the light leg work in the beginning so we can get to the fun stuff here in a minute, for sure.
And also, just want to reiterate that this workshop will stay live indefinitely, so you can have a look. You can follow Bobby today, or you can just listen in and do it on your own time. So don't worry about that also.
Well, while we're waiting for everybody to kind of catch up with their VPC piece setting up, is we'll come back into the PagerDuty piece for the the peeps that are kind of following along and waiting for the VPC to create in their AWS piece. The next piece is we want to actually create and set up our priorities on the PagerDuty side. So if you over here on the right hand side, there's like this little shadow icon of a person over here. If you kind of hover over that, it'll give you this little drop down of, my profile, account settings, subscriptions, blah, blah, blah. So what we want to do is we want to click on account settings, because what we're trying to do is we want to set our incident priorities, or we need to enable them basically. So once you click on incident priorities, and then by default it comes up with P1 to 1 through 5. If you guys use severity, you can definitely change this. You can just and if you want to spell it out, you can definitely do that too, right? And then you can also give it a little bit of a description, like, priority ones have SLA of, 10 minutes, or, priority two have an SLA of 15 minutes, that type of thing, to add a little bit more description to your priorities. So then we'll just do a save here. Priorities, okay, perfect. And then I can't create a subdomain in PagerDuty. Okay, so let's go back. Is it giving you an error message when you do that? If you can't create it, my guess is that somebody already has the subdomain name, so you might need to create, add a number to the subdomain name. So we'll do save here. I'll just want to save this. And it doesn't intuitively take you to another screen. And so once you do save this, you'll see the priority saved, little green box at the very top. So then what you could do is you could just click back click on the PagerDuty over here on the left-hand side. So we don't need to be in that settings page anymore. Perfect. My guess is to go back to kind of show this. If you're having problems with the subdomain, it's probably, like I said, it's probably just because somebody already has that subdomain name. So that would be my guess, definitely. So hold on one second. Okay. Get out of here. So how's everybody coming? Still doing good to create? Because really we can't move forward with the next piece of the create simple application until the VPCs are done. And the reason why is because we want to attach the load balancers to the VPCs that we create. So that's why we'll have to kind of wait. There's 2 public and 2 privates that are created. So we want to utilize those when we go to create this simple application. So what I would suggest is that you definitely make sure that this is completed before you actually go to the next step of creating this sample application or simple application. And while we're waiting there, what we could do. Oh, go ahead, Mark. I see you.
No, I think we can continue to the sample app, and just we can people who are still deploying the VPC can wait a couple of seconds and make sure that they select the correct VPC ID in the next step.
Right. Perfect. Right. Perfect. Great. Thank you, Mark. So what we'll do now is like Mark kind of said, it's great. The team has actually created another CloudFormation template for us. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to set the key name. If you don't have a key name, you'll need to go and create one really quick. And we can definitely show you how to do that. If I'm sure everybody on this call is very familiar with AWS.
Yeah, but
so you probably
that's actually a good idea. Maybe we can show quickly how to create a key, just in case people are using a vanilla AWS account.
Yeah, definitely. We'll select the 2 public subdomains that we created in the when we created the VPC. We'll select one private subnet, and then we'll do next, create the stack, and then we'll be able to move forward, and you'll see the test, the little application that we have that we're gonna kind of play with and bring up and take down so we can get some fun CloudWatch alerts into PagerDuty. So we'll click on this CloudFormation template here. And again, we will definitely want to use the default in the first screen. So we'll just do next here. Mine's going to fail because I've already created it. I will add a -3 just to see if it will create, but my guess is it probably won't. But this is the important part, kind of like what Mark was just talking about. One, we want to go and create a key store. So in your browser up here, maybe go, should go back to, go to services. And then what we want to do is the best way
is EC2, and under EC2 we have key pairs.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is an optional step. If you already have a key pair and SSH into the machine, that you don't need to create another one. But just in case that drop-down list in the CloudFormation template is empty or doesn't show any keys, you do have to create another. You do have to create a key.
Yep. So then you just give it a name, right? And it's super easy to do. And then just do create pair key. It'll download automatically for you. And then as you can see, I have a couple of different ones because I've been playing around, kind of once you get stuff to work one time, you like to play around and get stuff to work multiple times. So thanks to Mark, I was playing around some more. So back to our CloudFormation template. So if you do this drop down now, I will actually see, I probably have to do a refresh, but you should see your key name. So if you don't see it in there, I would probably go back one screen and then come into here again. And then
sometimes going back messes up.
Is not a good idea.
Messes up the
right. So let's just start again.
Behind it. Yeah. So yeah.
No worries. Hey, it's all good learning, right?
Yep.
Definitely. Okay. So then we'll come back in. We'll accept the defaults here. I'm going to add a 3 up here. Whoops. 3 for me. I know it's going to fail because but now you see my new key name that I created. And then this is the important part, right? We want to select the private ones are the public one are first, right? So we're going to take these 2 publics, and you just have to click in there. And then the VPC ID, definitely take the workshop. Don't use your default, right? That's not what we're connected to. So we definitely want to take the workshop. And then the bottom one, we definitely want to take one of the private subnets. So it doesn't make a difference if you use 21 or 22. So just select that. So again, just to recap, right? Make sure you have a valid key pair selected. In the load balancer subnets, you're going to select 2 of the privates, and then we're going to select for the VPC ID, we'll take the workshop one, not the default, and then we'll select a private subnet. And then you'll just do next here.
And make sure to select a private subnet from the VPC that we're using and not from somewhere else. So that's also something to remember.
Right. Good point. Good point. And then we'll select, we'll take all the defaults here and we'll just do next. And then at the very bottom, there's another acknowledge, and then you can create the stack. My guess is mine's going to fail again because I already have it running right here. But we'll see. Yeah, it already failed. Boo. But what I'll do is I'll just delete it. But once it does complete, and it'll take a few minutes to do this complete, once it does, in the outputs, you're going to get two different session URLs. And this second session URL is actually the one that is to our basic web server that we're going to kind of play with today. And if you want to get really fancy, you could click on this link into the load balancer, and you can make sure that your session manager is actually working, because that's part of the deploy that we did. We used a session manager. So now what you could do is you can actually connect directly into the load balancer, and then you'll make sure everything's working here. Yeah, perfect. So see, I know it's all working and everything's up because I'm at the command line. So, basically you could run all your commands right from your browser. I'm just going to delete this one. And I know that's going to probably take a few minutes, definitely. So while it's completing, your guys are finishing creating your little load balancers and the default application that we're going to use, we could go back into your PagerDuty, your developer account. We're pretty much done with the base configuration, but what I was going to actually show, if you're new to PagerDuty, what PagerDuty does and how we do it, right? How does PagerDuty know who to notify and who's on call? So what we would do is I would just suggest that we create an on-call schedule really quick. It's super simple. We'll do new, and we'll just give it just a fun name. We'll just say primary DB team. And then we'll do users. I'm the only user in here, so the schedule. So we'll just create this and we'll save this schedule in PagerDuty. And what's nice about PagerDuty, right? Once you get your schedule and your team into PagerDuty and you create your first schedule, you no longer have to really come in here and edit the schedule at all. So like if you have somebody that needs to take a break, like if you need to schedule an override or they're going on vacation or things like that, you could actually just use the schedule override. And put somebody else on call for like the next hour, next 4 hours, the next 2 weeks. One thing that I do want to tell you about in the schedule, why that's still completing out, the schedules are very robust, right? In each layer of the schedule, you can consider that as a shift in PagerDuty. Someday, hopefully, we'll be able to rename these from layer 1, 2, and 3 to maybe like shift 1, shift 2, or day shift, night shift, swing shift, just some more granular details. But you can also set the rotation of how your team is going to rotate. Like, so if your rotation is daily, it could be weekly, it could be, every 3 days. You can restrict the on-call schedule. So like if your team is only primary on call, Monday through Friday during the day, and then the second layer, there's another team that's on call from like 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. You would come in here and you could create very granular in your creating of your schedules. So that's our first schedule. And then how we do this, right, in PagerDuty is we attach the escalation policy is how PagerDuty knows who's going to get notified, right? So I'm going to create a new escalation policy really quick to attach. We'll just do DB team, and then that schedule that I just created, will add it to the first layer of the escalation policy in the PagerDuty escalation policy here. I'm going to change this. 3 minutes, and then I'm going to put myself as the manager. Around PagerDuty best practices, we actually suggest that you do a primary on-call schedule as your first layer. The second layer, you should do a secondary on-call, and then you should go to like a manager, and then a director as the fourth layer, definitely. Oh, there we go. Save. So with that, right, we'll go back now to the CloudFormation piece. But what you've done now basically in PagerDuty is we've created, we've set your priorities, we created an on-call schedule, we've created an escalation policy. The next piece is in a few minutes, we'll create an actual service that we'll use once we create the sample, the CloudWatch integration piece. So how's everybody coming? Doing good? Perfect. Since it is kind of self-paced, I'll just kind of keep moving ahead so that we have enough time to get through here. So now basically what we're going to do is we're going to actually set up a AWS CloudWatch alarm to trigger into PagerDuty when a certain EC2 instance, our EC2 instance that we just created, we're going to actually take it down, watch CloudFormation, the event, the alarm get triggered, and then we're going to send that back into the event back into PagerDuty to create an incident. So like I said, right, the setup, we've already kind of done this, right? We set up our PagerDuty developer account. We got the VPC already created, and we already have the sample application. Hopefully everybody has it up and running by now. So what we could do is we actually can skip this little section, and we'll go right to the CloudWatch integration piece. So now what we're going to do is, right, so PagerDuty can consume alarms from our alerts from multiple different vendors, right? Part of our 700 integrations, out of the box integration, AWS CloudWatch is one of our most popular one. I think one time I read a stat that like well over 7,000 PagerDuty customers were using, AWS CloudWatch alarms, which is a lot, right? That's quite a few. So there's some people out there with probably a lot more knowledge with, how to set this up than me, but we'll walk through this today for sure. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a PagerDuty service with the CloudWatch integration. We're going to create the SNS topic so that when the alarm triggers in AWS, it knows what to do with that alarm, and we're going to trigger it back into PagerDuty. And then we're going to send the notification, and then we're going to create a new alarm in CloudWatch. So let's get started. Go to the next screen here. So we'll go back to our PagerDuty screen here. So now we're going to actually create a service. So at the very top, you can click on PagerDuty to take you back to the incident screen, or from that schedule where we were just at, you could just go to service and then service directory. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a new service inside PagerDuty here. So we'll do new service. We'll give it a name. For this, we'll go something. I'm not very creative, so you'll have, you can be as creative as or not as creative as if you like. So I would probably go something like, give it some context, right? The service name that you're actually using inside PagerDuty is also a part of how the notification is sent to your incident responders in PagerDuty. So when the notification comes, it's going to tell them, you have a major outage happening on AWS, point of sale register, West region. Then I was just going to put in here web.
So Bobby, so essentially, this when you create a service on PagerDuty side, this is like a representation of the application or the applications, a bunch of applications that we're trying to monitor or trying to be alerted on through PagerDuty, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep, exactly right, Mike. Or Mark, you're exactly right. So definitely. So probably how you have your application stack in AWS, you could actually take that same naming convention and use it in PagerDuty as a service in PagerDuty. You can get very high, like you could stay very high in the service taxonomy inside PagerDuty, or you can get very granular. And the reason why I would say suggest that you maybe go a little bit granular is because the analytics that PagerDuty can provide, right? So if you wanted to show to you like your managers or your directors and things like that, like, hey, certain application stack is produced 100 incidents in the last 30 days, maybe we need to do a rebuild or something like that. So you can definitely get those metrics from PagerDuty.
Yeah, great.
So
Those are
then,
really important metrics actually for
right.
for a lot of teams or a lot of developer teams.
Yeah, definitely, right. Sometimes they gotta like prove their worth, to the business, right? So having those metrics will help, still help them, prove their case out a little bit better. So you can generate a new escalation policy, or you can use the default. So what I would actually suggest is everybody just use the default and then do next. So part of PagerDuty, right? In PagerDuty, I mentioned a minute ago, like we can ingest all of your alarms and your alerts from multiple different monitoring tools in PagerDuty. And how we do that is through some intelligent event intelligence. And one of the event intelligence is event intelligence, right? So basically what we're doing is we're correlating and getting your alerts into, instead of getting notified on 50 separate different alerts, we're going to correlate those 50 into hopefully one or two major incidents in PagerDuty, right? So that's the intelligent piece. And basically what we're doing is we're reading a certain part of the payload from AWS, CloudWatch, or Datadog, or New Relic, and things like that. And then with the machine learning behind PagerDuty's on the PagerDuty platform, it's actually making that suggestion or correlating those. So, but you don't have to do intelligent, right? You can use content based. Like if like right out of the gate, you're like, if an alert comes from a certain tech stack from AWS CloudWatch or said monitoring tool, definitely use, in that tech stack, you can go in and say like, there's a certain tag from the monitoring tool. And you can base it off of that. You can do it off a time based, right? So whenever the first alarm comes in for the next 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, no matter what, we're going to correlate all of those alerts into one incident inside PagerDuty. For now, just for our own testing, right, just so you can kind of see how this is going to work, I say we actually turn off the alert grouping, and we can come back and turn this back on in later on. And then also, I would also turn off, we do not want to pause incident notifications, because we want to do what PagerDuty does best, and that's notify your teams that a major outage is happening. Then we'll do next. And then right out of the gate, right, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, PagerDuty does have like well over 700 different integrations out of the box. And one of the integrations is AWS. But if you typed in here, you could actually see out of the box AWS, we have CloudWatch, CloudTrail, the health dashboard, Security Hub. So, there's no code basically when you use the out of the box integrations, because we're going to select this CloudWatch integration. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to create this service. And when we create this, it gives you the integration URL that you're going to need in here in just a minute. So what I would suggest everybody kind of do, I mean, you can flip back and forth, obviously, but I'm just going to copy that, and I'm just going to actually throw it over here on the side to keep this. Because we'll need this URL here in a few minutes when we go back into the AWS piece. So that's your first service inside PagerDuty. Super exciting, right? Getting stuff done today. I like it. So now we'll go back to our service, the workshop here. So name your service. It gives you kind of like a grand detail of like considering, some things to consider. We also have a best practice documentation, kind of like what I mentioned about how granular and how wide you want to get with it, depending on best practices. So we did all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom here. And escalation policies, I talked about that. We actually already created that. Created the service, the alert grouping. For now, we're just going to turn those off, right? And now what we're going to do is we did save, and then again, just to reiterate, we would definitely want to get this URL right here. So now I'm just going to go to the next step, which is creating an SNS topic in your AWS environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my environment. And then if you just go SNS up at the top, simple notification, right? And I'm going to create a new topic, right? And by default, we want to just use the standard. You don't need to use first in, first out. We'll just use the standard option. We're going to give the topic a name. I already have one in here, so I'm going to have to use something like PagerDuty 2. You can give it a description or display name if you would like. I'm just going to copy and paste. I am not creative when it comes to naming conventions, so kind of boring actually. So then at the bottom, we can take all the defaults here. And then basically now we're just going to create this topic. Perfect. And then we'll go back into our walkthrough here. So again, what we did is we were using the standard type, right? I named it PagerDuty. That's what we're suggesting. Create the topic, and then at the very top, we'll just make sure that we got a success. And I think the success will come in just a minute, because now we're going to actually create the subscription. So we'll go next here. Again, so now we'll just we'll create the subscription. Some of you are probably way ahead of me already. So right, it's super easy to do. You just create on the topic that we just created, right? We want to create subscription. The protocol is HTTPS. And then what we're going to do is we want that URL. One of the URLs is going to be the one that we just copied and pasted from PagerDuty. So we'll go over here and do this right now. Oops. So I'm going to create a subscription here. The protocol that we're going to use is definitely HTTPS. The endpoint, right, is the URL that we just, copied, which I thought I copied. We'll send this back. Go here. Then we don't need to make any changes. And then what we'll do is we'll just create the subscription. Oh yeah, thank you for that. PagerDuty, okay, we created that. Created the subscription, verify, paste the URL, right? And then we just need to make sure that the subscription was created. And where did that go here? Did it not create? Oh yeah, there we go. And then we get the confirmation down here at the bottom with the green checkbox. Perfect. So now we just created that. So now we'll go to the next. So now we'll create a CloudWatch alarm so that when we go to, when we go to trigger or take down our EC2 instance, it'll, trigger an alert from in AWS into PagerDuty. So now we're going to go back into AWS, and we're going to create the alarm. here, because there's some specific things that we want to definitely use when we create this. So I'm going to highlight these right here. So when we go to create the alarm, you want to make sure that you want to select the unhealthy host count under, then it's the application ELB, and then it's per app ELB per TG metrics. You'll see it when we get in there, but I just wanted to make sure that we are definitely selecting the correct metrics when we're building this out. And hopefully Mark will keep me honest here. So we'll go back in here. We'll go to CloudWatch. Maybe if I could spell. We'll go to CloudWatch Alarms. So I already have one created, but what we'll do is we'll still create a new one. Why is my screen? Oh, it's because it's so big. I'm probably not. Okay, wait. Yeah, create. So Mark, what did let's see, an alarm, no. Oh, here it is, never mind. It just was stuck on my own alarm for some reason. It was just taking a minute. So what we'll do is now, exactly, we'll create an alarm. We'll do select metric. Again, we want to go to the application ELB. We want to use the, and I forgot our, I highlighted it, per TG metric. Per TG, perfect. And then we want to use this unhealthy one right here. We're going to select that metric. Some changes that we definitely that I would suggest just for our testing period, this right here, is we actually want to change this from a minute or even 30 seconds. So it just goes a little bit quicker, right? So we're not waiting, 5 minutes and things like that. So then down here at the bottom, you also want to change that. We want it to be greater equal to, and then we want this number to be 1.
Yeah, and also, just to make sure that people know that sometimes when you create the initial alarm, it will take a couple of minutes for the data to manifest in CloudWatch. So if you see no data or something like that initially, don't worry. Just give it a couple of seconds; it will be fine.
Definitely. Yeah, I did that yesterday. Thank you for the reminder. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? But so now
Especially
basically
with
what,
newer alarms, yeah, it takes
yeah, exactly. Definitely. So now what we want to do is we're going to actually select using Sns topic. So I'm going to use my topic that we just created, right? So now we're going to send, when it's in an alarm, we want to make sure that AWS sends the alarm, the alert to PagerDuty. So with doing that, we have to use the topic that we just created. And that's when it's in an alarm. And we also want to add another notification, because the great thing about the integration between AWS CloudWatch and PagerDuty, as soon as the alarm goes back from in alarm state to an okay state, it'll send another alarm to PagerDuty. And then what PagerDuty will do is we'll actually auto close that incident. We'll close the alarm, which is attached to the incident on the PagerDuty side. So we'll want to do click OK for the OK message. And then same thing, we'll want to send it to the PagerDuty SNS topic. We don't need to do anything else. We'll just do next down here. We'll give this alarm a name. I think I called mine the other one, unhealthy host EC2. Just give it a fun name. Like I told you, I'm not very creative at all. This screen is actually just a screen that kind of, it's just an overview. You actually technically haven't created the alarm yet. So what you have to do is scroll through it, make sure everything looks okay, and then actually create the alarm at the very bottom down here. Perfect. So now I have 2 alarms. You can see the other one will come in just a minute. Like Mark was kind of saying, it takes a minute to kind of populate. This is the other one that I did earlier today. Okay, so now that we've got the alarm created, any questions? I'm just going to go through the instructions to make sure that we did not leave out anything. Here, SNS topic, PagerDuty. We wanted to do the okay, so we have to add the second one, unhealthy host. Oh, I copied it from there. So I'm so creative. And then it should create. Okay, perfect. So now we'll just go to triggering an incident. So this is the fun part. So hopefully by now your web server is up. And then, how we can, double check that is go to your web server, right? When we created this, and we'll go to the outputs. And then here we'll want to go to this URL, open a new tab. I already have it open, but as long as everything's working correctly, this is what it should be. I know, super creative, super detailed with our, backend EC2 instance and, Flack. I think we're using Flack as the application, but super simple. But what we're going to do now is we're actually going to kick off. We're going to actually take this down. So as you can see in the instructions, right, if you just copy the bird, and then what we're going to do is we're going to paste that in the Word. And then basically what that's going to do is it's actually going to trigger the EC2 instance to actually shut down on itself.
So essentially, what we're doing here, we're trying to simulate a failure in our web service. So
Right.
we're using something very basic here. We're just closing behind the scenes. We're just closing the service, the Nginx service, which will trigger an alarm in our ELB. But this can also be something a bit more complex. You can play around and find what kind of metrics are relevant for your application in order to get the alerts for. So sometimes it can be CPU, sometimes it can be memory, sometimes it could be connectivity, sometimes it can be all three. So it really depends on what type of application you're running to understand what kind of metrics you have. And the wonderful thing about this integration is that you can have multiple alarms set for the same application to really get into those into the fine details.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for that. Definitely. Yeah, because your application stack, you could have a front end. You could be monitoring the front end a little bit different than the back end, and also monitoring the databases, completely different. But definitely. So we'll just wait here, take like a minute to get this kickoff. As you can see, it's starting to show a little bit of unhealthiness over here on the right-hand side. So that's super exciting. And I'm super impatient too. Like, I'm a clicker, so I'm sorry about that.
It's super exciting when you're in a workshop doing, just testing it around. It's not exciting when you get a page at 4 a.m. That's also something
Right.
to remind the audience today.
Right. No, yeah, definitely. Very true. Very true. So once this goes to unhealthy, then it'll trigger onto the PagerDuty side. It might have already triggered for me. I'm going to go look into my. any second now. It's going to go. Because the web server is definitely down. You can definitely see that, right? The MyBird definitely did its job on, showing that there's some kind of a failure. Maybe we did a code deploy last night that's, not sitting well. Okay, perfect. So now we're in alarm, right? So now if everything is set up correctly, what you should see in PagerDuty, in your developer instance, you should actually see an incident come in and you should get triggered. So we'll go in here. And as you can see, I definitely am being triggered. The alert came into PagerDuty. The integration said, by the PagerDuty on the backend said, because of the integration and the alert context that we used, it said, go ahead and create the incident at a high urgency. Next thing that we could do, like in future workshops, we could set the priority mark by just adding a little bit of code. For sure, that's easy to do, but we could definitely do that. I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge this because I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my phone is definitely blowing up over here. And why we do this, right? Like as you can see in PagerDuty, the alert from AWS CloudWatch, here's all the relevant information is definitely right here in the incident on the PagerDuty side. So it's great, right? Like PagerDuty, we want to be that central pane of glass for all your users with all of the integrations and all that things, right? Like if users aren't used to, are not comfortable working in, AWS CloudWatch or looking at these alarms and things like that, right? We give with PagerDuty, we give you that option that you can work from PagerDuty or you can work from whatever other tool that you're used to too, right? Like we know PagerDuty, we're not your ITSM of record. So like sometimes a lot of companies will either be with like ServiceNow or Jira or anything like that. Just with this case, I did not have automatically create a Jira ticket or a ServiceNow ticket, but one of the integrations, we could definitely do that. You could send this incident directly into ServiceNow to create the ticket and into Jira to create a ticket. So now that we've had enough fun playing around, because this has been in an alarm state for a little while, the manual process of this, right, when somebody's being woken up in the middle of the night, they will have to actually come in to AWS, restart the the EC2 instance to get it going again. And now this is where we're going to kind of get in. We're going to add another step in here in a minute, where we're going to be able to actually come in and restart this EC2 instance. We haven't done this yet. I stepped ahead a little bit. So I'll probably do this automation right now, but then we'll step through this here in just a second. That was really fast actually, because it already sent. So now we'll come over to CloudWatch. It'll be, another minute or so because I set the thing in a minute. But what we'll do is basically what I did is with the automation is I sent through AWS Event Bridge, right? I sent a script to say, hey, go restart my EC2 instance that's down right now, and then send back, a successful restart. So basically what we could do is we could just watch this, all of this, and then the CloudWatch will go from unhealthy to healthy in probably like a minute. So definitely.
Yeah, and while we wait, we can really talk about this integration, and you can also try it yourself in the workshop under the EventBridge section. So this really enables first responders for alerts and incidents in your organization to get this no context switching kind of system between their AWS account and their PagerDuty website. So if in case you have this kind of incident, in case you do have something's going wrong, you can directly from the PagerDuty UI, you can trigger events that you create to fix issues in your AWS account without having to do this context switch, or without, in a lot of cases, without giving users super detailed access into an AWS account, which in a lot of cases they shouldn't have. So this is a great way to have this to add kind of an abstraction between your response teams, whether it's the developer teams themselves or somebody else, and the operations behind the scenes.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mark. And I was going to kind of say the same type of thing with the integration with EventBridge and even PagerDuty. We have our own process automation piece, right? Basically, what you're doing is you're eliminating time that it would take an incident responder to come in, troubleshoot this ticket. Like, hey, he's going to look at the log files and see, like, hey, maybe unhealthy host, and instead of have to go into, into the EC2 instance, restart all of it, right? He could stay right here, do all of his work, and even here we'll show you in a few minutes, based on this certain some type of criteria, if it's unhealthy host, maybe we just automatically restart the EC2 instance, and that is something that we'll show here in just a second. So as you can see, it just went from acknowledge to resolve. So that's my cue that the CloudWatch is now probably in an okay state, right? So when I restarted the EC2 instance, right, it started back up. We can go check out our little site here. Should be up. If it's not, then it's on its way. But basically, this okay was sent to PagerDuty, and it automatically closed out the incident on the PagerDuty side for us. So like if the team knew like right away, like, hey, once the EC2 instance is, back up and running, we set one of those notification topics to send the okay back into PagerDuty. And with the integration, it automatically resolved the PagerDuty incident. So technically, really what we're trying to do is ease the burden of when your teams are on call, right? So we want to allow them to feel comfortable and confident, when they're working incidents or when they're on call, right? So if you're at the movie theater, because everything that I can do in the PagerDuty UI, I can do in the mobile app. And I would actually suggest whenever you become a PagerDuty customer, or if you are a PagerDuty customer, that you definitely use the mobile app, because everything that I can do in the GUI, I can do in the mobile app. And that's even running that restart command from the mobile app. Perfect. So now we'll go. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, I just wanted to reiterate that, like the power that you get with this two-way, this event engine integration. It's really, really powerful, and it can do. You can really streamline how you respond to incidents, how a team responds to incidents by having this
Right.
bi-directional communication, essentially.
Definitely. Just gives teams confidence. That's what I like to say, right? Instead of triaging incidents and things for 2 to 3 hours, or have to call in like a certain SRE team to come and grab that information or restart that EC2 instance. You're giving power to the team that's on call and responsible for that incident during that time. Definitely. So I don't we got like 25 minutes left in the workshop. I don't know if we'll be able to get through the EventBridge piece, but it's definitely here. I would actually suggest that everybody do this. Go through. It's super easy to do. I did it in a couple of took like 10 minutes to set up, but there's just some configuration changes or configurations that you have to make. Add the API from the PagerDuty side. Get your secret key from AWS, add it in, and you're pretty much good to go. And then basically what it is when I triggered that incident, on this more tab, and what it's going to do is it's going to give you this restart EC2 instance right here as one of your drop downs under the more tab. We call that a custom incident action on the PagerDuty side. So definitely. So now I think what we'll do is we're going to skip both the EventBridge quick start and the EventBridge PagerDuty piece here, and we're just going to drop down into the the PagerDuty automation and CloudWatch integration piece. So just a little bit of background. PagerDuty has been around for about 13 years or so, but about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years, we bought a company called Rundeck, and Rundeck basically was the automation engine that we now call PagerDuty process automation. So what we'll do is we'll just start working through this because this will take a few minutes and I want to make sure everybody has enough time. But basically what it does is this diagram kind of sells it for me, right? So we're going to start what an incident, right? And then the PagerDuty runbook automation. You can have scripts, commands, plugins you can use to generate your runbook or your playbook. And then basically, when you run that playbook, it could be automatically when an incident's triggered inside PagerDuty, or via the drop down option of in the incident inside PagerDuty, you can run that playbook definitely. So there is a little bit of work. We integrate and work with on the runbook side, on the process automation side, multiple different companies, right? AWS Event Bridge, Ansible, all those type of things. We're not trying to replace it, right? We're just trying to make it so that you get more benefits out of your automation pieces, definitely. So what we're going to do here is now we're going to configure it. So hopefully everybody got their username and password to log into the AWS or to the process automation workshop server. And if you didn't, just throw it in the chat if you didn't, and we'll make sure that you get that. But once you get logged in, the first thing is that we're asking you to log in with the email address and the default password, right? And then once you do get logged in, come in and click your little profile guy over here. Oh, dang it. So I need to log in. Go here. Copy. Paste. Log in. I already changed my password and things like that, but what we ask is that maybe you just come in and do an edit and add your first and last name to your project profile. So I'll do cancel because I already did that. But we also suggest that you definitely change your password. So you just click the change password, create a new password, make it something, with the uppercase, lowercase, numbers, letters, that type of thing. So once we do that, that's the first step. And then we'll go back to once everybody gets logged in, by default, you will see the process automation. This is your default screen. So everybody should have one project in your projects tab here. And then if you just want to go to this automated diagnostics, you can kind of see once we get into the project over here on the left-hand side of the navigation bar, some really cool new features are definitely were added. So we're going to be using some of these on the left here in just a second. But if you just want to take a look, this is the dashboard. This kind of tells you like if you had some scheduled jobs that were supposed to run today or in the next 5 minutes, they would show up in here. Yep. And then we'll go project settings, we'll go jobs. These are the two jobs that we have for the demonstration today. So we'll get there in just a second. So I'm going to go back and basically, because what we need to do is you need to configure the process automation to have access to your AWS account. Sorry, I'm getting blown up. I must have an incident. Hold on, let me go back in here really quick so this will stop. Sorry about that. And I'm just going to resolve that. Okay, so we need to add your AWS credentials to the pre-built diagnostics project. So there's two things that we want to do here. We want to add your AWS secret key to the configuration, and we'll store it in the process automation key store. By default, within the key store, we have a key store already built in, but we also make integrations to other key stores like Thycotic and HashiCorp and some other ones, some other companies out there. But if you have those tools already, we can definitely integrate with those. But for this demonstration, we're actually just going to use the default. So what I'm going to do is you're going to need to get your key store secret. And so we'll go back into CloudWatch here. Key store.
So it should be under your IAM user. If you
Oh,
create,
right. Yep.
yeah, and it's very important to reiterate here that at AWS we recommend rotating those key and secret just to avoid a case where they accidentally leak and people can access, and a bad actor can access your AWS account remotely. So using things like Vault with temporary access is also an option, or just rotating them manually and making sure that we don't have long-term secret and access key.
And where did I get that thing in? I forgot now. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I know it's supposed to be under security credentials, and then you'll see your AWS secret and key. I guess you'll need to create new ones, just because the secret is only shown once when you create the user. So that's something to keep in mind.
Right.
See, under access keys, you'll have the access key ID and the access key secret, and you can create a new one. You can delete one and create a new one, so everybody here can see the process itself. So yeah.
Right. Perfect. Yeah, like Mark was just saying, before you do close, you want to definitely copy this key out. So I'm going to do that. The access ID, that one stays, but you need this one. We definitely need this one. Make sure I save this right. Close. Paste. Okay, so perfect. So now that we have the access keys, we want to go back into our process automation server. And over here on the left-hand corner, we want to go to project settings. And then you want to go to key store up at the top. And then I'm going to add or upload a new key. And we're going to do key type is a password. And then the secret is what I want. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it in here. And then on this, the name, so you'll need this name. This is kind of important. We'll want to keep this. So I'm just going to stay with my same boring convention. 3. And then we'll do save. And then what you want to do here in a minute, we're going to need this. So you want to copy this piece out. So keys. Paste. Perfect. And now what we'll do is we'll go back to configuration or the project settings tab. And then we want to go to edit configuration up at the very top. And then what we want to do is we're going to edit the configuration so that we're always reading this key store. So I'm going to do edit configuration over here on the right hand side. So I actually get to the actual code of it. And as you can see, I already added my information, but what you want to do is you want to copy the AWS, the access key ID, the first one, right? And then we'll add in the secret. Oops, sorry for the clicking. So the ID is the first one. And then that key store path is the second one that we want to update right here. And then once you have that, you just click save down at the bottom. And then it'll give you the nice blue banner up here at the top. And now basically what we did is we authorized the PagerDuty process automation to communicate into your AWS environment through a secure, like a API token. So it's very secure, right? And PagerDuty was developed and all of our infrastructure is on AWS. So it's just basically going from cloud to cloud. So now we'll go back to the jobs here. We added the secret key. We added the information. I'm just going through the stuff here, make sure that we did this right. Same thing, right? We went to project settings and then edit configuration. We updated the code and then we hit the save button at the bottom. And now what we're going to do is we're going to run our first job. The very first job that we want to run on the process automation piece is we're going to run the get access logs that are in AWS CloudWatch. So we'll go back to the process automation server. We'll click on this second job here, right? So once you're in here, if it takes you back to the dashboard or if you're still in the project settings, just click on jobs over on the left-hand side. And then we want to click on this job, and this will give you more detail about the actual job. So once it clicks, it's thinking, probably because everybody in the workshop is doing the same thing, right? So now what we'll do is we'll just run this job. I'm running. And then you should see in success. And then, oops, I should do that again. Log output. Where's my log output? It says it was successful. Okay, well, we're getting close. Okay, so, it says it was successful. Typically, you would see, I wonder if it was deleted when the access log information was deleted when I rebooted my instance. But hopefully you guys are seeing the access log output right in here. It would actually show up in here.
Yeah. If not, you can. I'm pretty sure you can just open a couple of tabs and refresh them, and you'll see some kind of a transaction in the Nginx server.
Right. Oh yeah. Good point. Good point. Yeah. For whatever reason, when I did the restart, my poor little engine, my poor little EC2 instance doesn't want to come back alive. Typical demo stuff, right?
Yep. Demo. But in the meantime, we're figuring this out. this is a great example for how we can enhance the previous integration that we spoke about was EventBridge. So with EventBridge, we have this this communication between AWS and PagerDuty. And here we're taking it a step further. Was process automation. We're taking it a step further and enabling also things like taking logs from specific machines, trying to understand what is going on, what is the root cause of the incident, in a very simple way, in a very straightforward way. So we can do as we're showing here, we can fetch logs to see what's going on in the machine. We can, through plugins, we can access a container, an ECS a container that runs on ECS to see what's going on within the container. And again, in a way that is very, very seamless for the people who are responding to the incident, because we really want to make sure that we focus on how to resolve it and how to remediate it, and not context switching between websites and between applications and between logging systems. So this is a really great example of how we can enhance this ability, essentially.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kick off another incident inside my PagerDuty instance here, because we're running close to the end of the time here. So I wanted to show another piece of what PagerDuty could do. Not only once we could grab those logs and show them in the process automation GUI, but we can actually grab those logs and then throw the logs into the PagerDuty side. So one of the next jobs that we're going to run, that we have the option to run, is I'm going to run this job, enhance incident with CloudWatch logs, right? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this job, and it's going to go grab the logs from the EC2 instance, which it might fail because my instance is not working, but we'll try it here. And then we're just going to run this. Let's see, why did we fail? Did I not copy the... So basically, this is the workflow. This is like a run book inside of our process automation server. And as you can see, I had set up a couple of different things just to like add a note into PagerDuty. Hey, we're grabbing the AWS CloudWatch logs. Then I'm actually running a response play to tell the incident coordinators on the PagerDuty side, hey, we have a major outage, jump on this conference bridge. And then I was going to go grab the logs, sending the logs to PagerDuty, and then updating the status again. So I'm not really sure why it failed. Maybe just because there's so many people, because it failed like so quickly. Try to do this again. I know we're almost done with time. And I would just throw out, like anybody that's in the webinar or in the workshop, if you have any questions or concerns, you did get my email address when I mass emailed you guys earlier today, which I'm super sorry about that. I'm trying to get those username and passwords to you for this instance. But if you do have any questions or concerns, you please reach out. I'm going to try this again because yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'll have to play around with it. But basically what we would do is I can show these other incidents here really quick. Oh man, something still triggering me. So So last night, what would happen is when it's, working and things, we would take like I just have it set as to grab the log file from my EC2 instance, right? And I'm going to throw this information into PagerDuty so that gives the incident responders even more of an opportunity to, have more information at their fingertips when they're, working through trying to resolve this, this major incident. Yeah, I'm sad that that's not working. I don't know. I don't know if maybe it's because maybe there's a lot of people trying because it's failing right away. So my
It might be
guess
something.
is,
It might
yep,
be because we changed the secret and access key, and it's not aligned to the same account. But
yep,
in
could be.
general, that's a beautiful thing of doing the workshop. People can try it on their own and actually test what we're talking about here in theory in practice. So this is a great
Definitely.
opportunity. And as you mentioned, logs. Viewing logs from an EC2 machine is one thing. You can use SSH into that machine and really
Yep.
try to debug it or try to remediate the issue live. And that's all part of this wonderful world of process automation and what PagerDuty brings to the table with that in terms of how do I improve how my team and how my developers are responding to, or my ops team are responding to incidents, and how we can really enhance the way that we get all the information up front and very, very central to the team to reduce the time it takes us to remediate the issue or to fix it. And it's also for the post-mortem, for the after the fact, we have a very clear way to understand what went wrong and how we can fix that in the future.
Right. Nope, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were absolutely right about the security token.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
That's what happens when you change things in a demo.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We should all know our lessons by that, right?
So with that being said, I think we're almost out of time. So yeah, I just want to make sure. And reiterate that this workshop was live, and you can try it on your own. You can continue and enhance it and play around with it as much as you want. The PagerDuty the dev accounts will be up and running, and only if you are inactive for 2 weeks, then you'll be removed from the process automation part. But don't worry there. Yeah, and Cody, back to you, I guess.
Awesome. Well, Mark and Bobby, thank you both so much for hanging out and really running us through everything and helping our audience. I really hope that our audience were able to get a whole bunch out of this and follow along. And so thank you both so much for all the time that really does go into putting these demos together.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mark and Cody, for hosting. And then I also want to shout out to the PagerDuty team on the back end, Forrest, some other people that deserve it, Jake Cohen, that have done a lot of hard work to get this up and running, and Kelly and Nick, and all the PagerDuty people that helped me. Like I wouldn't be as successful as I am, if I didn't have them. So definitely.
Yeah, and thanks again, Bobby, for this great presentation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So to our audience, just a reminder that this session was recorded. So following this workshop, you'll receive an email with a link to access the recording on demand, or you can find it living on the DevOps website at devops.com/webinars, and just be sure to look in the on-demand section. So I did promise we'd be giving away 4 $25 Amazon gift cards. So our 4 winners are Yuvraj M, Danny S, Chika O, and Brenislav B. So to our 4 winners, congratulations. Please keep an eye on your email inbox to claim that gift card. But if you don't happen to see that email, do check your spam folder. So I'd like to thank AWS and PagerDuty for sponsoring today's program. Bobby, Mark, thank you both so much for being here. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us for the past hour and a half. We really do appreciate whenever you spend time with us, and we just want to ask for one extra moment for a survey that will pop up on your screen as soon as we close out. Otherwise, we do hope to see everyone at an upcoming Techstrong Learning program. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.